Hey guys, it's Will Arnett, and you're listening to Flying Casual.
Thanks, Will. Boy, that was Will Arnett, guys, here leading off the podcast. Really appreciate him stopping by to record that intro. And you are listening to Flying Casual, an all Star Wars podcast, folks. We are back for yet another week of discussion of The Bad Batch, episode 5, question mark?
Yes.
Yes.
Period.
Period. 5, period. Okay. What's the title, Holly?
Rampage.
Rampage. I think here in America we say Rampage, but Rampage.
That was the main coming through a bit.
That was, yeah.
And then I get confused that I looked at Luke.
Give me affirmation that I am from the United States. Somebody, please.
Sorry, I'm still thrown off by Will Arnett listening to the podcast.
Well, I was as shocked as anybody. You can imagine. Like, yeah, that's pretty big.
It was nice of him to stop by, but he left so abruptly as well.
Yeah, I think he said he was shooting a Batman 2 Lego movie. Something about that, which actually could be my favorite Batman movie of all time.
Oh, there is a Batman 2.
You haven't seen the Lego Batman movie.
I haven't seen any. The only Lego movie that I've seen is the most recent Star Wars one that came out. That's not true. I saw the actual Lego movie, and I didn't really get it.
Yeah, I never saw that one. Even though my doppelganger apparently was in that one, right?
Yeah, Pratt's in that.
Yeah, Mr. Pratt, my doppelganger. People mistake him, a lot for me. So that's understandable. I get it.
Oh.
I'm a little more handsome, but... Holly, how you doing? A little smitten that Will Arnett stopped by, obviously, but we got the mainness out. The New England's gone now. We can all go back to saying Rampage, right?
Just to be clear, it's Rampage.
Rampage. I had an accent aigu, and we can be French. No?
Rampage.
Yeah. So you doing well?
Which is so stupid because I watch Archer all the time, and one of the things that he yells all the time is Rampage when he's
something
in a bad
offensive,
mood.
I'm sure. Yeah,
everything's offensive.
Everything's
but anyway,
offensive.
Yes.
Yeah. No, everything's offensive. That's our slogan. That's the new Flying Casual slogan. Flying Casual, everything's offensive, period.
You could be a dick now as long as you're offensive.
Yeah.
No, don't. I take that back.
Well, maybe the slogan is everything mark?
Question mark?
I don't know, but you're doing well.
Yeah, I am. Thank you.
That's good. No problem, Holly. You're welcome. Luke, how you doing? Welcome back. 2 weeks in a row straight. COVID-free in this household. We're not spreaders. We're vaccinated. How you doing, buddy?
It's like life again.
I know,
isn't it?
It's fantastic.
Congregating.
Yeah.
Breathing each other's air. It's great.
There's a lot of disgusting things going on right now and have been
but
for
we're
all
past
times.
the licking elbows.
We've moved on to much more personal things.
Breathing each other's air.
Yes, right into my mouth hole. Yeah. Every crevice. It's actually really disgusting. Like, I mean, we've known for years and years and years how disgusting humans are and how we interact with each other and what we're sharing. But to see all the evidence from all the research into COVID was very traumatizing. Then, hey, COVID, not dead yet, but I'm seeing all this footage from spring breaks and stuff, and it's just disgusting. Now we're a little more aware. Maybe not. That's just me.
Yeah, I saw some girl today on Facebook.
Yeah.
She was like, I'm not scared to go back into society again.
Preach.
I just don't want to.
That's
it's
perfectly
fair.
acceptable.
Also, we are still in a pandemic, so maybe take it easy on the large congregations of people.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
we believe in science on this podcast.
Well,
I'll speak for myself. I believe in science on this podcast.
The jury's still out for Lucas. I'm not sure if we're...
I believe in Star Wars science.
Exactly. I believe in sci-fi.
Yeah.
Is that sci-fi? Fantasy?
Don't bait me into this conversation because people have given me so much shit over the years for saying Star Wars is sci-fi and fantasy. I'm sorry, it's not just sci-fi. There's so many fantastical things about Star Wars, but we're not gonna. You're trying to bait me. I understand that. You're gonna hijack the conversation.
I thought it would be a good conversation.
No, it's not because I'm gonna get a lot of shit for it again. But in my opinion, Star Wars is sci-fi and fantasy. Period. No question mark. But guys, episode 5, Rampage. Rampage. Rampage.
It's Rampage, Michael.
We're not certain.
Get it right.
We're Rampage episode 5. Holly, you and I hadn't seen the episode yet, but Luke texted us and said, guys, a really enjoyable episode, an origin story that I didn't know that I needed. And I was just like, wait, what? This is like Luke. If Luke was getting an origin story about the Bad Batch, I don't feel like he would have been so compelled to share that. Like, none of us are that invested, but like, I was like, okay, who are we gonna see here? So the entire time I'm watching the episode, I'm like, who's it gonna be? Boy, had no freaking clue that was gonna happen. Had no idea. And I know there's some controversy around this individual, this character, this creature, and we're going to get into that too. But overall, Holly, you enjoyed Rampage, right? Rampage.
Yes, it was a good episode.
Yeah.
I just
come on.
I don't know. I feel like every episode that we watch, I like Omega. Not that I didn't like Omega in the beginning of the
Team
show.
Omega.
But I like Omega more and more.
Yeah.
I just think that her character is developing a lot now, and she has a good sense of humor, and I feel like she's fitting right in, kind of balancing out the seriousness and some of the goofiness of the show. Maybe she's our like moral compass in the show.
God, I hope so.
But I really like this episode. I think that they're getting more action-packed, but not as dark as they were a few episodes ago.
It's getting pretty serious. Yeah, I talked about that some of our Patreon guys the other night. It's just a little shocking, and I straight up asked them, like, "Are you guys letting your kids watch it?" And they're like, "For the most part." But yeah, so I don't know, a little lighter tone. You know, it's pretty. A lot of stuff we learned here was pretty comical. I
guess you could say I did read somebody's argument that maybe it wasn't quite as light if you know everything that happens with Jabba and what he likes to do with his exotic pets that he brings in. So I thought that was actually a good take on it.
That's a good point.
But if you're looking at the show at face value, yes, I think it was
a good time.
It was lighter.
Yeah, creatures being creatures, you know, are they enslaved? Yes, but hey, we all felt good about that episode. Right?
When you say it like that.
Yeah. Really shitty episode.
Yeah.
I know. You're right. Luke, what did you think? I mean, creatures' rights aside, did you enjoy the episode?
I think it's perfectly fitting to describe it as one of the more like lighthearted, funny episodes of the series, which is funny to say that because it ultimately revolves around slave traders. It's slavery as well, which is a heavy topic. But the spirit of the episode overall is definitely full of laughs and
absolutely
and funny little moments throughout. So I totally agree. As sort of weird as it is when you look at sort of the main issue at hand, and you know, speaking of, you mentioned the text earlier. You know, I like to get on Disney Plus pretty early on Friday mornings, get a quick viewing in of the new episode, and I'm pretty confident Holly and Michael haven't watched it yet when I do that. So if I send them a message, it has to be fairly vague. I don't want to give anything away.
Teases it.
And I think this is only the second episode of the whole season so far that has prompted me to do that early morning text.
Absolutely.
It was the series premiere.
Yeah.
Elicited a fire emoji text.
You did.
After I watched about 8 minutes of the first episode.
Yep.
And then this one, I think, was the only other time I've done that. Shoot off the vague, intriguing initial thoughts text after seeing it to you. And so I think that must speak to its impact on me.
Absolutely. Luke is our moral compass and our, you know, I don't think Luke's ever going to lead us astray. There's only a couple times where Luke and I have ever disagreed on how we felt about an episode, and it was the Ahsoka one. And you did send a text, I think, that morning, and I was just like, okay, I know it's coming, but we just weren't on the same page on that one. But I think I actually, on the latest Casual Council, said it was my least favorite episode of season 2 of Mandalorian.
Tear my heart out.
I know. I can't. It's something about it. I don't know what it is, but. So Luke, we can always depend on Luke to give us a good nod of, hey, this is going to be a good one. And this one definitely was super enjoyable. And I'll tell you this, I knew things were shifting when the character Sid was speaking to a hologram. And I was like, God, that sounds like Bib Fortuna. And then I was like, okay, we're going in a different direction here. We're going to, it wasn't Jabba, but we're getting introduced to his clan here in the early stages. And was not expecting what we got, but definitely knew that things were switching there. And maybe things could get a little more comical. But yeah, so I guess one of the biggest discussions right now in Star Wars is this creature, is this Rancor, Muchie. Right, this Muchie, the old baby adolescent Rancor that is apparently being captured or being captive to some slave traders. So it was nice. It was awesome that the entire Bad Batch was misled into thinking it was this, green scaly youngling. I thought that was cool, and we're gonna break her out, and we're gonna do the right thing. And then when they learn it's this disgusting creature, they don't just turn and say, this is stupid. They actually, the mission is still the same, yeah, maybe before the credits, but they still did the right thing. But the conversation right now with Muchie is Muchie the freaking Rancor from episode 6? And I posed that question when Holly and I were watching it for a second time, and Holly's like, nah, it's not. Because Holly's been in deep in the conversation right now. That is this Muchie debate. Holly, what are you seeing on the interwebs?
Okay, actually, it was completely by accident.
Okay.
When we were watching the show today, and I read very quickly in an article, there was this one sentence that said, Rancor native to Dathomir.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I didn't know
That's
that.
awesome. Did not know that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I looked it up, had to Wikipedia that, and sure enough, fun fact, according to Wikipedia, Rancor are native to Dathomir and Felucia. There's jungle Rancor, I found out.
A little more
I
wild.
think that they're actually seen in the Clone Wars in season 4. But
She's like a freaking just reference book now of Star Wars facts. We might have to have you write one. Maybe Disney will. Maybe.
get me on some trivia.
Let's go.
Do a watercolor
Don't
encyclopedia.
Don't joke about the trivia. I'll get you on a creatures trivia with Lucas Elder. We'll see who wins.
Me. Okay. Anyway, so then I read that the Night Sisters would kind of like train the Rancor to get rid of the colonizers that would try to come in and get all the magic.
That's awesome.
So I thought that was pretty badass. I love the Night Sisters. But anyway, then I was reading, Wikipedia always like tells you, it has a little section where it's like where you may have seen this character or this creature, what appearances they might have made. And so then it said Muchie, referred to Muchie as a girl, as we know from this episode in the Bad Batch. And then it said also seen in, and then it says Jabba's Rancor Patissa killed by Luke Skywalker. I was like, those are two different Rancor.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was it.
I mean, that's definitive. If Wikipedia is telling us that, they had to have gotten these facts from some reference book, Luke, from the 90s, I'm sure. Like, is this the same freaking Rancor? We're just making a name change on some canon? Or is Jabba just a freaking traitor of these beasts, or he's got a whole pit full under his palace? I mean, what the hell's going on?
How many Rancors are there? How
exactly
in abundance, apparently.
So to go back to the infamous text message, that has been lighting the world ablaze. I led you to believe that this is the same Rancor that's in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Which was my impression, honestly, watching
Absolutely.
it. And I think the vast majority, as sweaty as the Bad Batch audience is compared to Mandalorian, probably, I still think the majority of the audience, when they watch this episode, they see this baby Rancor, roughly, with the show, I think, is around 25 years before that moment in Return of the Jedi where Luke is confronting Rancor in Jabba's palace. The vast majority of people are going to, I think, get the same impression I did, that this baby Rancor, who is ultimately Jabba's, who Jabba wants her back, is the Rancor we see in Return of the Jedi that Luke has to defeat to save his life. So I don't begrudge anyone for that feeling, and I enjoyed feeling that way.
Yes.
When you get down into the nitty-gritty of the canon details, this is discussed in Aftermath.
Son of a...
That it was named Patissa, and it was a male, not a female. And I don't have all this research done, but I think Wendig, when he was writing those books, pulled it from somewhere older in Star Wars lore, from some reference book or some game or something. You know, a lot of these authors have done a great job of, even though they said, all right, we're starting the canon over to refresh, reset, and make sure things tie in. A lot of these authors have gone back and pulled things that they knew or liked from Legends.
Absolutely.
To show that those things are still important. Those are still interesting guideposts or ideas that we can incorporate even into the new canon as we're refreshing things. So that's where all that comes from. Definitively black and white by the book. No.
Yeah.
It's not the same Rancor, but I think that the spirit is there enough that just to know that Jabba, how it has Rancor's trades in them. Yeah. This could be, we don't know how quickly Rancors grow. This could be Patissa's mom, Patissa's sister.
That's very true.
We don't know what Muchie's relation is to Patissa.
Yep.
Oh my!
Absolutely.
I can see them dedicating an entire episode of some show, just reuniting brother and sister Rancor.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be?
No.
Yeah, but then you know what happens, and friggin' Luke Skywalker, and
we don't want to pay too much attention to. We can't invest in the Rancors too much because ultimately we know they live really shitty lives.
I know.
Because everyone just wants to use them, and they can't just let them be the jungle animals that they are. They're using them for some purpose, or enslaving them, or keeping them in their dungeons. Like, it's just, we can't get it too invested. This was. You were feeling for this little guy there until you brought it up after we had watched it a second time. In my mind, I wasn't even going, oh, he's just going back to probably be enslaved.
Yes.
We're rejoicing.
One enslaved situation to another. Although at least the Bad Batch did come in, like Luke said, and freed 2 other enslaved people. It looked like maybe a dad and his child.
Yeah. And we all feel confident. Yeah, it's a different creature, and I'm sure Wendig's story is still canon, and whatever references they've made to the Episode 6 Rancor. But I mean, they've been changing canon. When Kathleen Kennedy came out in 2012 and said everything is going to matter. Every comic you read, every book you read, everything you read, the shorts, they're all going to matter, and it's all tied in, so to speak. Like, they've changed some things as we've gone on. First episode, Caleb Dune, things changed. I mean, even his master's lightsaber color was different. People were up in freaking arms about that.
They were?
They were, yes. They were pissed. And so if you're now gonna go back and change details of one of the installments from the original trilogy, which we've done that too. We've added some conversations with Han and Greedo. It pisses people off. McClunky. It pisses people off. But I mean, even something like as silly as the Rancor, at face value, if you just watched the movie and never investigated anything, you would have no idea. You'd be like, this is the same creature. And that, like Luke said, we're deep and sweaty. We did that too, and that's fine. I think we're never probably going to revisit that again. You can just safely assume that was that creature, and you'd be fine. Unless we get an episode dedicated to reuniting the two, and then they both end up, just enslaved or dead. Boy. Sorry, I missed that camera shot on you, Holly, giving the hatchet to the Rancor.
It was a lightsaber.
Which... Thank you. You're right. That would only make sense in Star Wars. I'm an idiot.
Can you imagine?
I don't think hatchets exist in Star Wars.
Jedi wielding hatchets.
Actually, probably pretty intimidating. The Nile probably do something like that. I could see some beheadings.
That's what it was. Yeah. This is a wild tangent, but that's what was so weird about the Knights of Ren, that they were outfitted with all these like medieval weapons.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was like, why? This is Star Wars.
Even in the old Republic, they had the same technology. And that was thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. It's like, when were they using giant axes to kill people? Ever?
I mean, I don't know.
I think they've always had laser swords. Since, mankind.
Laser enhanced things. Vibro blades, they say a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah, usually not just a blade.
And none of them had that. Maybe it was simply because Ren... See, now Luke's got us going down on our tangent.
I'm sorry.
It's perfect.
No, it's not a tangent. It's fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because I go on a lot of tangents. And once I start, I don't stop. That's why I depend on you guys to cut it off. Phrasing. No, that's terrible. You remember the comics where we were talking about the Ren and the Knights of Ren? He was very just like, I don't know what the right word is. He's just was so, to me, it seemed like he was worried about losing his position within the Knights of Ren. He was the dominant one, and these are the followers, and no one's ever gonna, my position is never jeopardized, but maybe it was him who said, no one else gets laser swords.
Yeah.
You know, like, you could stab me in the back. A hatchet, I'll feel it coming. A laser sword, that's a different ball game. So he was the only one that really wielded anything, I think.
But we see, like the Jedi or the technology in Star Wars peaks at like the beginning of the Clone Wars.
The beginning of time, I think it peaks because technology, when you look back at the Old Republic stuff that they're probably going to reinvent and recanonize, nothing is really different.
I guess you
the
can
clothing
argue,
is a little different.
I guess for technology, you can argue probably Rogue One is the peak because then we get the Death Star.
Yeah.
And weaponizing synthetic kyber crystals.
In terms of destructive technology,
Yeah.
True.
Yes. Yeah. Destructive technology.
Yeah.
Not to continue the
tangent
let's
go.
Too long,
Let's go. Let's
the
do
one thing that is the technology is different in the High Republic so far is that in the time of the High Republic stories, they're just now starting to develop Bacta as a health treatment.
Yes. Yep.
It's
or Bacta, here in the States.
It's replacing some other iteration of something that they have, but that has been to me the only significant
and hyperspace travel
technological difference. Yeah, there's a little bit going on there.
Yep. Yeah. So it's you're right, and it's I make fun of it so much because the Old Republic stuff from the games, it all looks the same. Like literally the speeders, nothing's changed in thousands of years. So it's just kind of funny. Laser swords haven't changed. It's all I think they just peaked.
Look, if it ain't broke, don't
fix it. Well, back to Rampage.
Oh yeah,
Rampage.
That's what we were talking about. Rampage.
I love it so much. That will never die. Probably this entire episode, but my next episode, Holly, I promise it'll die.
It won't.
What else stuck out to you guys? There was I did not even notice this probably until the second time I watched it, Luke. But there was a moment where Wrecker in the ship shakes his head, and Hunter's like, "You okay?" or whatever, and he's like, and he walks away. I never noticed anything before now, but I'm hearing that people are saying, "Oh yeah, this has been going on." I didn't pick up on it, but something's wrong with the dude's head, and I'm gonna say it's probably from all the concussions he's had to have had his entire life, or
your inhibited chip.
It seems like they're hinting that something could happen with Wrecker, which pisses me off because I'm now Team Wrecker. Like I wasn't before. I was like, this dude's stupid.
Yeah, you were Team Crosshair.
I was.
Now look what happened to that.
No, I was never Team Crosshair. I called him out from the beginning. I was like, that guy's a douche. He's totally flipping. But I'm just now Team Wrecker, and then it feels like they're gonna yank him yank the rug right out from under me. What the hell's going on with him?
Yeah, what's the Will Smith movie about the doctor who did
I Am Legend?
No, it's a different one. The doctor who studied the concussions.
Oh,
he's a real guy.
Yes,
CTE researcher about like sports concussions leading to CTE. Somebody needs to take a look at Wrecker's head. It could be the inhibited chips, or it could just be all the blunt force trauma this guy goes through. He might be developing CTE, but no, it's interesting to me that you mentioned like this hasn't been a big thing for you watching the show because I kind of missed it.
Yeah.
Too. Partially because the way I watch these, sometimes it's more of an auditory experience. Sometimes for me, I'll watch them a lot of times, but not always in an opportunity where I can really focus visually.
Yeah.
But I'm always listening.
Yeah.
So I get kind of a podcast version of the Bad Batch in some ways. So I kind of, for whatever reason, I kind of missed that headache thing too. But I'm seeing a lot of the discussion online and analysis and things that are talking about it, and how it does seem to be foreboding something going on with his inhibited chip that will be devastating because Wrecker's like the most sort of fun-loving
Yeah.
character. He has this great sibling relationship with Omega. There was the great part of this episode where when Sid is bashing the rest of the Bad Batch and saying, you know, Omega's the brains of the operation. You guys are idiots except for Omega. And in the background, Wrecker high fives Omega because that's a compliment for her as Sid is making fun of the rest of them.
That's a great scene.
So he is so like loving and supportive of Omega, and it's really freaky to think about maybe him being at some point a danger to her if something goes on with the chip or whatever's going on with his head.
At first I thought, you know, one of the brothers kind of goes down. Maybe there's a sacrifice. Maybe Crosshair never, you know, maybe he never comes back and they kind of live with that. But then I was like, another? Could this happen to another? And how's that going to affect the story? It feels like it could be setting us up for some sort of reveal with Omega. Holly, are you getting any since we've seen them forming that relationship now? They're making a point to show that Wrecker's really invested and she loves him. Hey, look at my doll! Like even when he's got his head thing going on. Well, they're setting us up for something. It feels.
I think that between her and Tech, they have a lot of knowledge about the inhibitor chips and also like.
Sorry, what was that?
Inhibitor chip.
Okay, that was pretty good.
But they have a lot of knowledge about it, and also she's been a medical assistant, and they never explicitly said it, but I would imagine that she has at least observed types of surgeries for either like implanting or modifying the effects of the chip. That's just my opinion though. But so I would imagine that you're probably onto something. I haven't really thought about it until you just said it, but you're probably onto something where, you know, maybe we're going to see some sort of like interaction if he does turn. Maybe they're going to try to save him and they're going to be able to figure it out. Maybe that would lead later down the road to them and Crosshair having another sort of interaction. I don't know for sure, but I mean, I think you're onto something there. Yeah,
it just seems too, I don't know. We joke about the concussion thing, but like in reality, especially after, you know, button heads with that Rancor, the dude needs to see a doctor. So it's not like they're really playing up on that as like a joke, like something's going down. It's just very subtle right now, but it seems like they're setting it up to where she's either going to have to intervene or she's going to be put in danger and something's going to happen. It's going to change the story completely.
Well, and I think at some point we're due for another check-in with Crosshair, right? Because we haven't seen him in a few episodes. So I imagine, I mean, they amped him up to 11, as Luke says. Yeah. And then what? They're just going to let him go and he's going to try to find the rest of the Bad Batch that have run away. I mean, we already know that somebody's looking for them. Yeah. And we thought it was the Kaminoans. So, I mean, it would make sense if he would be going after them too. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know if that is going to make a difference in how Wrecker's been acting, if Crosshair comes back into an episode and crosses paths with them again. I'm not sure, but
yeah, I don't know. Some things we did learn. We saw, you know, the hollow of Fennec Shan. Sid's like, I have no idea who this is. And then a couple minutes later, all right, here's everything I know about Fennec Shan. We know that she's new to the scene. I thought that was an interesting little tidbit. But has a reputation already for being a savage, apparently. It's like, oh, you're on her radar, but it's like you just said she's new to the scene, so she's very impressive. We already know that. But yeah, so then then my mind is, I'm still asking myself, like, who is she working for then? If she is new to the scene, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's Boba Fett. You know, would the Kaminoans seek out someone who's just, I mean, I don't know if she's as ruthless as they say she is. Maybe they were aware of her, but I don't know. I'm still confused, but I thought it was interesting that we learned a little bit about her and that she's, you know, it doesn't seem like she's really attached to anyone right now, but we'll find out. The other bit of information, I mean, just the fact that we're talking about Jabba and his people at this stage in the Empire was funny, but very interesting. Because I talked about it on the last podcast, like, man, like these clans, these crime syndicates, like they benefit from this empire kind of coming out of the Republic. And we even hear the enslavers say, oh, now that pesky, the real dick rabbit guys, what were they? I don't even know who they were, but they look like rabbits and they were real dicks. Remember, Holly? They were searching the ship and they're like,
oh yeah,
the ship's clear. We're coming back to base. It's like
rabbits.
why
I think they're more cat-based.
Are they cats? Okay, I don't
They're
know.
the Zagirian
yeah.
traders. There's a whole
Okay.
arc of the Clone Wars where they
See,
Anakin and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka
Rabbits.
go to their planet
Okay.
and stuff.
I did not recall that.
There's this what I always remember about the episode. There's a queen on Zagiria, and there's like a good amount of sexual tension between
Hello.
her and Anakin
Let's go.
during the arc, and I'm like, this is interesting. Cat
Yeah.
Lady and Anakin, there's a spark there.
See, it would have made more sense if they were rabbits.
Okay, I don't how exactly.
I don't know. You know the old thing, rabbits. No, anyway.
I mean, yes.
Rabbits are known to reproduce
rapidly.
a lot, but I wish I could pull those bits of knowledge from like Clone Wars. There's not enough space up here.
Plus
hold
Jessica
on.
Rabbit
Jessica, who's that?
from
Killed
who
Roger
framed
Rabbit?
Roger Rabbit.
Oh
my
my god, I
God.
love
know?
that movie. Obviously, I didn't even remember the title, but it was a great film.
What
Also, it's
did
a little
you-
scandalous.
You said who killed
Who
Roger
killed
Rabbit?
Who framed Roger Rabbit? You know who I was going for. Like I said, there's not much space up here for knowledge. Those guys were dicks. But they themselves said, hey, this pesky Republic's gone. Now with this empire, like we can start flexing our muscles and doing what we're doing, slaving people. And yeah, cool. So I'd mentioned that kind of last podcast, but what I thought was really interesting is that as prominent and as, you know, as scary as Jabba and his clan are, as we know in the original trilogy, they're seeking out a bounty hunter or somebody to go find one of their prized possessions. I thought that was fascinating because in my eyes, they have their own people to do that and they wouldn't have to go pay somebody to take care of something like this. But like, it's the young stages of Jabba's clan. And I mean, you know, I don't really picture Bib Fortuna going in and be like, yeah, I'll pay you guys whatever, like just get our thing back. Like it just was, I don't know, it was a tonal shift for me from what I think that I'm used to seeing. And it's kind of cool. We're seeing this kind of early stages of Jabba and his, you know, maybe not Jabba, but his group. So I thought that was just really fascinating to me, but I don't know, maybe not to you guys. I don't know. Seeing the gangs in their infancy. Luke, what did you think about, I mean, other than the comical stuff about Bib Fortuna and the Rancor, what did you think? Anything in particular?
I'm kind of running with this thing you've brought up about like why would they need to hire out somebody if they're this powerful gang? But it was played up a lot in the Clone Wars that the Hutts are the mafia.
Yeah.
There's an arc that involves like a Hutt council, and you see a lot of them meeting up about
Good
their
point.
criminal empire
Good
and
point.
discussing it. And there's a lot of them who are like very reminiscent of mob characters
Yep.
in ways.
Great point.
And I think when we think of our own world, the higher ups in the mob always had kind of plausible deniability because they weren't getting their hands dirty. They had
Yeah.
other people who got their
True.
hands dirty. So it's almost like, or even to be like more cynical, it's like companies not actually wanting to have employees anymore. Oh, everyone's a
Absolutely.
contract worker.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
These contract workers aren't actually part of our company.
Yeah.
So if they really screw up, that's on them.
Yes.
It's not on us, sort of thing. You're a gig worker. You're not an actual employee. So it maybe helps them from a keeping out of the the criminal prosecution so
True.
much as that exists. Maybe more so in the Republic era.
Yeah.
And then maybe the Empire is a little more tolerant of their
Yeah.
dealing, so they can start to be more like, oh, these are actually our guys. So like by the time we see the original trilogy, Boba Fett seems pretty tight
Yep.
with the Hutts at that point.
Absolutely.
Especially by the time of the special editions where he's showing up on Tatooine in Episode 4
Yeah.
and everything. So maybe by that point they are like, you're more in the family.
Exactly.
But right now they're keeping people at arm's length, so they're not as closely tied to them.
And
Yeah.
Jabba's just about having a good time, right? You know, the palace is just like a place you can crash, party, bands playing every hour of the day. So
sure, you have enslaved people providing the entertainment. No big deal.
Exactly, just a good time. Just good vibes only. I think there's actually a fluorescent sign that says that.
It has a palm tree on it.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. That would be fantastic, actually. What a wonga! And some guy pops out. Good vibes only. Yeah, totally cool.
That's terrible.
What was the little eye thing that came out of the door? It was just like a security thing.
Yeah, I think that's a droid.
Cool. That would be cool. Yeah. I want to put that in my house.
No.
I'm sure people have rigged their houses up so it looks like they have one of those. There's people out there who have done that.
That actually might be a nice deterrent. But yeah, I guess, and I had kind of forgot. No, I didn't kind of forget. I completely forgot. Like, they sent the Republic out to find Jabba's son. Remember, like, at the beginning of the Clone Wars, it was all based around that story, and I'd completely forgot about that. Like, man, that was rough. I think I actually blocked a lot of that out of my mind from 2008.
You just didn't like it?
Oh, I walked out of the movie theater saying, what was this? I did not know what the hell I was watching. It was weird. Boy, times have changed completely. At that point, I was just like, we do not trust Lucasfilm Animation. The hell is happening?
You were one of those people.
One of those people. What a flip-flopper. But yeah, it was a fun episode, and I thought it was super cool. Now, we talked about, kind of these crime syndicates and stuff, and I want to see more of that. And when I was talking with the guys before we recorded Casual Counsel, we're talking about Solo. Everyone's talking about Solo right now because people want to make a second Solo, and I admire what you're doing. That's cool. Probably never going to happen, but would it be cool? Awesome. Yeah. But then I got to thinking, where the hell is little Han Solo during this time period? He would be a young guy, a youngling, a kid at this point. But like, I thought it would be really cool. Like, Omega is still this naive kid. What's enslavers? What is enslaved people? This is crazy. Like, she still has a lot to learn. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if they go to Corellia and it's like the whole Lady Proxima thing, and maybe she's gonna try to help some kid? I thought that would be really cool. Like, if we're gonna do this, let's go visit some other planets. Let's go to Corellia. I feel like Corellia animated would be amazing, and you could do like Proxima. You could do all these characters. It'd be cool. There's a little nod to the folks that want to see more Solo action. I thought that'd be sweet. We've done it in Rebels and stuff. We see our legacy characters pop up here and there. I thought that would be kind of a cool opportunity for Omega to learn more about this galaxy, because every encounter they have, you're like, oh wow, she's still a lot for her to learn before she can become some hero.
Well, and she's still also like very young
with a bow now.
Child, with a sick ass bow.
Yeah, that thing looks awesome. Which I think we saw some promo material with that. And I didn't even make the connection when we saw it in the slaver's hands. I was like, oh yeah, okay, let's go. But what else? What else about the episode, guys? I don't really. I mean, it was a feel good episode. But like you said, Holly, it really isn't. Kind of. Right?
Well, I think that's something that you can see happening in this episode is that Omega. I think in some of the previous episodes, she was being treated as a child, as she is.
Yeah.
And in this episode, she kind of has a little bit more freedom, and they're trusting her a little bit more. And then she's actually the one who ultimately starts to rescue the Bad Batch. And you can kind of see them become more of a cohesive group that can work together in these situations. Like Luke said, I really appreciated the high five. But later in the episode, when she realizes that they're captured and she's sneaking in to try to figure out how to help them, I mean, her and Hunter, and then later her and the other guys have kind of like this like language that they just understand. I mean, there's just a lot of nodding and like eye glances, and she just knows what to do based on like where Hunter is looking and what he's nodding at. And then she picks up on their cues when, who was it? Tech or Echo makes a comment about like, we don't have any weapons. Like, if we had our packs, you would be in trouble. And she's like, oh, he's telling me that I need to get them their packs.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's kind of setting you up to see them have these other missions where they're in trouble and they work together to get each other out of it, which I think is probably pretty important for wherever the show is going to go, because she was kind of an outsider, but not really an outsider at the beginning of the season. And now she's starting to find her place.
Yeah, it seems like every episode that passes, they inch closer and closer to realizing how big of an asset she can be. Especially after, you guys were totally screwed. Also, like, what's happening with their technique? I feel like before they're sneaking in, doing whatever, needs to be done in and out in a flash. And now it's just like broad daylight. Like, you guys got found out real fast.
They're desperate, for one. They don't have any money. Yeah. They aren't really sure like where to go. Yeah. They don't really have a place to go because Crosshair was trying to kill them. They got out of there. Yeah. And also, I think that this is kind of new territory for them because it's less of like military operations and more of these like smaller scale, like you were saying, like the crime syndicates and situations that they maybe haven't necessarily encountered and have a technique to get in and out of.
Well, and they're also grappling with just like ethical thing, like these just kind of like decision making where they never had to. There's the job. You eliminate that target, come back, go to the barracks. Cool, we're done.
Plus, they're missing their sharpshooter who would always have their back.
I think
think that's pretty key.
It is. I forget that. I think they told Echo that he was the eye in the sky or whatever. I was like, the hell's Echo gonna do? But
it's funny that you mentioned that, Holly, because Tech is sort of the he's the audience in a way throughout the show a lot of the times. In that he knows some of the Wikipedia facts and he can read them off for everyone else in the show so they know. Yeah. And he basically explains this in this episode. He has a line of dialogue like, well, this is a situation we haven't encountered before, so I don't have data for the probabilities of our different actions in this scenario, which is exactly to the points you're saying about, these are different than their military missions and their military setup, where even though they were this rogue group sort of acting independently from the larger armies of the Republic and the clones, they, I think, were at least given direction by, like Republic clone intelligence would say, all right, your mission, you got to go here and you got to do this. Now they're off on their own, finding their own missions from people in this seedy underworld. Yeah. And so it's a totally different environment. I think there's, you two in these discussions always give me such great jumping off points of things I didn't know I was going to talk about coming into the podcast. But I've got two now from what you said. One is what Holly was talking about, how this is much more of an episode of like seeing the relationships develop between the characters. It reminds me a lot of like, earlier animated shows of Star Wars. These seasons are pretty long compared to like Mandalorian being just 8 episodes. So you get a lot of like forward movement throughout. Whereas these animated shows, when they're serial, tend to be like 20-some episodes long, maybe a season, and it takes a while to get from point A to point B throughout the season in terms of the big plot points. Yeah. So think of Rebels Season 2, end of Season 1, you start out with the reveal of Ahsoka. Yeah. Vader comes in as a threat that the Rebels are dealing with. And then some of that fades into the background a bit throughout the middle of the season. Yeah. And it's more about like the development of Ezra and some of the other relationships in the team and things like that, and the sort of growing of the rebellion. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the season, you get the huge finale comes back in where heavily involving Vader and Ahsoka again, sort of tying the bookends together. Maul comes into play. And so it takes a while to get to those huge major plot points throughout the season. So this to me is feeling a lot like that in the way that it's developing. And then one of the things I'm enjoying about Star Wars in all aspects at this point is just how much depth there is to the world at this point and all the things they can pull in. If you're a casual viewer, you're just watching and you enjoy the great visual effects and some of the funny jokes and the great action. Yep. But for us, being as deep into it as we are, we get all these tie-ins from this grand universe we have and all these different media that gets pulled in from time to time. Like you were saying, would it be great if they went to Corellia and we saw like Lady Proxima and her gang and maybe little Han who's working for her. In the Dr. Aphra line that's running right now, I just read an issue. I'm a few issues behind, but I just read an issue where Aphra goes to Corellia and sees Proxima and talks to Proxima. Yep. And that's a great tie-in, a different time in the story. But but it fits because now we know that world and we know that character and we know what her gang is about.
Exactly.
And you can bring them into a story. So I think it's always refreshing to see who gets pulled into these at this point, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
Like we've talked earlier on the podcast about how much could this tie into Book of Boba Fett. I think it might have been last week or the week before we talked about this. They're starting to drop hints that this might be a really good prelude in a way to Book of Boba Fett, putting Fennec Shand in it.
Yeah.
Bib Fortuna, who for the trailer of Book of Boba Fett we got at the end of Mandalorian season 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bib is in that brief scene as well. So it's just great to see the expansive universe all linking together in these different ways and continuing to reward fans. Going back to when they change things or modify things, it's funny to me with the Caleb Doom opening of the series and saying there were a lot of people upset about the changes. My initial reaction to that, and I think I said it on the podcast, was I was pleased at how much they honored that initial comic and how much they stayed true to it. So it's like a glass half full, glass half empty kind of view. And I think it comes down to what you bring to it. If you bring to it oh, that's great, I read that comic.
Yeah.
They're rewarding me that I know that comic exists, even if two details are different or, than how it played out in the comic. I take it as, oh, that's great, that's fun. I read that 2 years ago, and now I'm seeing a version of it play out beautifully on a big screen or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think just enjoying all those aspects of it, and I think if you come into it wanting to enjoy those tie-ins, it's easier to enjoy them than get hung up on the slight alterations.
Yeah. I think that there's a problem in this fandom where people are just over analyzing every single detail.
Yeah.
And it's there are different teams who are working on these. There's different people directing them. There's different information being given. It doesn't have to exactly match something that came out 10 years ago. Details can change. It's not that big of a deal. It doesn't change the storyline. Somebody's lightsaber color, ultimately in this case, it's not changing a storyline, and I just sometimes I just wonder how exhausting it has to be to kind of go into these shows with the mindset, let's find everything and nitpick every detail that we didn't like so we can talk about that instead of all the stuff that we did like.
Yeah.
And I just feel it has to be hard to be that kind of a fan because why are you still watching these if you can't even enjoy it?
I ask people that question all the time. We just had a conversation about that on the last Casual Council, and yeah, it's fun to find connections and stuff, but the moment that the criticism is, and I get it, people ask, well, why did you have to change her lightsaber color? Maybe there was a reason. Maybe there was some, Dave Filoni could literally probably explain to you why. Maybe because her character, what was her character name, Luke?
Deepa
Billaba. Maybe, the different, and I'm not a lightsaber expert, but maybe the blue as opposed to the green was more in line with her character and what that meant. I don't know. Maybe the comic writer for the Kanan Jarrus series didn't understand that logic, and
maybe
they make
it's
a change.
just atmospheric perspective. People, have you ever thought about
Oh my
that?
God! Holly, you just explained it. Different environment. It's just the way that you see the color in your eyes on this planet.
Yep. Maybe y'all are.
It could have been red, for all we know. Holly, thank you for explaining that. Put
As
it to
an
rest.
artist,
Yes.
I had to give my 2 cents.
I think that's.
Thank you.
Will you please? Okay, get back on Twitter. Okay, and tweet that because
And I think
that can make the rounds.
the only lightsaber color that matters is, are you red or are you not red?
Exactly.
Really.
Yeah.
That's what matters. Is she a Sith? Okay, we have a different conversation going.
Samuel L. Jackson came along and was just like, George, can I have a purple lightsaber? And George was like, yeah, you got a purple lightsaber.
And that's what I'm talking about. But everyone there has to be some reason behind it, and it can't just be that the blue actually looks cool in the scene.
Yeah.
Matching
Yes.
with his apprentice, with her apprentice, it just looks cool. The you're going to run the risk though in retelling these stories that already exist. It's what's going to happen with Andor. We didn't get a lot with Cassian and K2, so they're probably going to change some details from the comic. And that's okay. If we're going to get more story behind it, that's okay. But like Luke said, they honored the essence of the story and Caleb Dune and what he went through. They honored that while adding in some flair that maybe could show up, in something else later on. Maybe they run into him later on. I have no idea. But yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing is that like a lot of people like really want to see all these big, like Luke was saying, legacy characters show up in their show. They're like, pay me a tribute, put them in there, make me happy. But then when they do that, you do run the risk of overlapping in timelines. And wait a minute, this show is 25 years before this. That person was only this old, but on the cartoon, they look this old. Like, that's a complaint I saw about Fennec Shand.
And the line about how she's new on the scene from Sid was to establish that she's pretty young at this point. So you don't have to freak out that she's still around 25, 30 years later.
Exactly.
Yeah. As it turns out, people actually have careers for that long.
Well, the animated character looks nothing like the actress from Mandalorian.
I know.
That was online, too.
I saw that online.
Jesus Christ.
It's just like, people, pick your battles. Well, if it's a green or blue lightsaber, so be it. But, it's crazy. So, you're right. They run the risk of, changing things up, and that'll upset people. But it's actually, what's funny is that there's not a lot of people that talk about those comic stories. There's not a lot of people that invest their time into reading them. But boy, when they find out that Star Wars Explained did a special and pointed out that it was different, they're up in freaking arms about it. I don't understand that. But it's a great story. They stuck to the essence of it, and I think that was awesome. Mm-hmm. It's not like they changed Caleb Dune and he was, whatever. He was kind of the little cocky ass that we thought he was going to be, and that's exactly who we got. And it serves his story later in life, and I think that's awesome. And I don't want to see him anymore in the show. I just don't. I think it was a great purpose in the beginning, and I think that's it. But I think that these creators are, I think that they're on a tightrope. It's making people happy, but still having TV shows that create new content and push the storylines forward. And in my opinion, I think they've done a really good job with that.
Well, at this pace too, what the hell is canon going to look like? And let's say they stuck to canon and for 20 years. What the hell is that going to look like?
It gives me anxiety, Michael.
At this pace, because this would not have been the case if there weren't streaming platforms.
Yeah,
canon would look a whole lot different 20 years from now if this didn't exist. Now it's like, how much can we pump out in 5 years? It's like, oh my God. Yeah. And it's all figurating inside itself and story after story after story after story. Yeah. How are they going to keep this stuff straight?
I've mentioned this before. I think it gives me anxiety about if son or daughter are ever into Star Wars on the level that I am. I don't know if that's possible.
It will.
But
we will make sure that happens.
I really feel they're still way too young for it, and so I haven't shoved it in front of their face too much.
Yeah.
And it kind of gives me anxiety about how much further things will develop by the time maybe they are old enough to get in more. And it's like, gosh, once they realize how big this thing is, are they going to get into it? I guess you can feed people the right bite-sized pieces to start out to get them interested, that you won't overwhelm them, but it does give me this weird anxiety to think what if eventually they are really into it and I have to help them navigate through what should I do next? There's so much I don't know.
Yes, between the books, the comics, the TV shows, the movies, the different sideshows. I mean, when we were talking about it was there was a comic that we were reading. And we were talking about the Blue Butterfly, and we were talking about how Kylo Ren and the Blue Butterfly showed up in some mini series for children on the Disney Channel.
Yeah.
And it's even stuff like that. It's just there's so much content, which is great, but yes, extremely overwhelming. Even now, when there are people who are trying to get into Star Wars, and if anybody asks me where do I start? I guess the movies. Yeah. You can't say start at the beginning because it's kind of
at this point.
Go read the High Republic novel and then.
Yeah, seriously.
Exactly.
So can you imagine 20 years from now, Luke's kids are fully invested in canon and Lucasfilm says, we're resetting everything.
Oh my God.
I mean, I think, I can see Luke out there protesting with them, right?
But imagine I mean, 20 years from now, kids who are getting into Star Wars 20 years from now, are they even going to want to watch the original trilogy?
It's going to be all shorts. No, Star Wars will be 5-minute
Star Wars
segments.
TikTok.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like that's all it will be. Then that will, because the attention span, I feel like of these newer generations, it's just like
I can't hold it.
they're going to have to fine tune the product to that going forward. They already are with the very young generations. Yeah. With the roly poly things and all that silly stuff. But I mean, how can you get that deep into storytelling like we enjoy, and these kinds of conversations with a 5-minute clip weekly of something? Yeah, I don't know. That gives me anxiety now thinking about the future.
Now we're
of
all
Star
anxious.
Wars. Not my Star Wars.
Oh my God.
We used to watch 3-hour movies. No, we never did. They were never 3 hours long. They should have been though. Rise of Skywalker should have been. Holly's like, we're not. You are baiting me into having a conversation about
now
the
he's
Rise
baiting
of
me.
Skywalker.
Ugh.
Well, yeah, that was a fun episode. I hope we get more crime underground workings. While we were talking about this, I was thinking like how we give Omega this pass. It's just like, wow, she's so young, she's so naive. But like, I think about the Bad Batch. They've lived a very simple life, just like the other clones. Like, they've been given a mission, they go out and do it, and they come back.
Mostly destroying droids. That's
droids.
it.
Yeah.
Not very stimulating. I'm sure after a while when you learn how to destroy them. But it's just like they're also out in this world that they've never experienced. And so the idea of like saving, slavers or like ridding the world of slavers and taking up this cause, like what is that to them? Like, we need to be on the good side of history. It's like how can they tell? They're really not that different than Omega when I think about it now. Like, they still have to grapple with all these things they're experiencing the first time. And probably should have stuck around with Saul Guerrero some more because he would have led them down the right path. But
Well, I think that actually that's probably one of at least to me, that seems like it's one of the intentional themes of the show, because I think that there are a lot of people who grow up questioning, like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Like, what's the right thing to do? And you kind of, like, as a human, you have to navigate that, and you have to, develop all these facts and this information and kind of categorize it and make those decisions for yourself based on the experiences that you have. And they're just now getting to that point. But I feel like, that maybe is intentional.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It just took me a bit to really say they're really not that different than Omega. Yeah, she's a kid, but like the experiences that they've had are not that dissimilar.
They've been sheltered in a way.
Big time.
But at the same time, I don't know, our definition of sheltered, I wouldn't consider somebody who's in the military as being sheltered.
Exactly.
But they have a very specific skill set, and that's all they've been allowed to do and to experience.
Yeah, great point. Great point. Luke, did this episode lead us into any idea where we're going at all? Are we just going to end up on some other planet with ship problems again and run into Obi-Wan Kenobi?
No, like I was saying about the design of these animated seasons, we're in the period where we're bouncing around to planets and characters and mini plots that we really have no idea where they're going or when we're going to get a touch point on the through line big plot again. Yeah. Which we know we're going to get Crosshair at some point. This whole intriguing thing about will Boba Fett come into the mix or not? Yeah. What's going on with Jabba? Yeah. That will all kind of Fennec Shand. And Rex. Who is she working for? Rex we still haven't met. Yeah.
Yep.
We know these big plot points are out there. We just don't know when they're going to be sprinkled in. So I have absolutely no idea at this point. I know we're going to get to all those things in one way or another this season. It's just at this point the sequencing of the episodes that you don't know, because we're in this middle period where it's more about what are the characters experiencing? How are they growing individually? Yeah. How are they changing as a group? All of that, and then just wait and see when the through line comes back in as a major part of an episode.
Absolutely. I mean, we could. Are we halfway through the season? Quarter of the way through? I have no idea. We'll assume it's 20 episodes or so.
I mean, that seems to be the case with a lot of the animated shows, like Luke was saying earlier. So I
I think we're 8 in then. If you count the first one as 3, we're 7.
Good point.
8
Good
in.
point. Good point. Yeah. So we've got a little time to go. I just imagine Rex showing up on Tatooine, finding Obi-Wan Kenobi in his
You think
hut.
we're gonna end up on Tatooine? All roads lead to
100%.
Tatooine.
100% we're going to be back on Tatooine at some point, and I feel like Rex will be there. And I don't know why. I kind of picture Omega, Rex, and Obi-Wan sitting around a fire on Tatooine, and her just being really curious about old Obi-Wan. I feel something in him. I feel something. I don't want to play up this whole Force-sensitive thing too much, but boy, that would be insane. She's never, it doesn't seem like she's really met anyone like that. So that could be really interesting. She hears about the Jedi. I don't know if she ever really encountered any. Maybe she did on Camino, but it's not like a ton of Jedi are hanging out on Camino.
Yeah.
I just feel like, boy, she could learn a lot from old Obi-Wan. But will we? I don't know. We have an Obi-Wan show going. If we look at the Bad Batch, the Mandalorian, they teased the hell out of everything that was coming live action with Ahsoka and everything else they're doing. It's just like, why wouldn't maybe they'll tease a little Obi-Wan action? I don't know.
Yeah. Everything really is tied in, though. I think Luke was kind of saying this earlier. Like, we meet so many of these characters in The Mandalorian. We met them in the Clone Wars, and then just continuing their stories, and they drop all these hints, but nobody knows what it means until after. And then you're like, oh.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that, though, where it's kind of like a mystery that you can get excited about, but you're not quite sure why.
You know what I miss, though?
What?
I miss, like, with Rebels. When Rebels would air on television before there was streaming platforms, long time ago. Did I sound like Gandalf
That
there?
was very good Gandalf, yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Wizards never reveal their secrets.
I think he says... okay.
No, go ahead.
No.
Correct me on my Gandalf
No.
knowledge. No, please. I welcome it because I'm working on my Gandalf.
We'll move on.
Okay, we'll move on. Now I lost my thought.
A wizard is never late.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That was actually the quote that I was going
That's
with.
what I was going to say, but then I was
precisely what it means to.
I totally was going to do that when I failed it. I've only seen probably Lord of the Rings a couple times.
You were saying about streaming services being a new thing.
Oh, what I really loved. Yeah, thank you, Holly.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for that glorious memory that you have. I loved when we would get a big old cliffhanger and then they would take a break for a few weeks because we were getting like a Rogue One release or something. Boy, the anticipation of just like having that and knowing you were on a cliffhanger on Rebels and then you're going to the theater to see an epic Star Wars and then in a few weeks we're going to pick back up where we left off. I miss those times. I miss that anticipation. It's fun waking up on a Saturday morning watching this, but man, I like the cliffhangers.
You know what I miss?
Bring Star Wars back into the movie theaters?
Oh, no. Well, yeah, but no.
Yeah.
That's not what I was going to say.
Okay.
I miss episodes of TV shows airing at a reasonable time where it doesn't get spoiled for you
Great
at
point.
9 o'clock the next morning.
Yeah. There's something to
Oh,
that.
my text was too revealing.
No, not you.
No, not it.
Damn, Luke did it again.
God damn it, Luke.
Yeah. No.
That was not directed at you. That was just an example.
Yeah.
Twitter, it's like, it was more so with The Mandalorian, but
Yeah.
it's like, when things air on the Pacific Coast, like, I get it. Like, it's tough to be on the West Coast and have something air at
tough
5
life out
p.m.
there,
on
yeah.
the East
Yeah.
Coast, and then you're like, it's
Yeah.
2 o'clock here, and we're still working, but these people are off, and then everyone spoils it for you. But when it's like, you people could be up at midnight and watch it, but we're asleep because it's 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And then we wake up at 7 o'clock and everybody spoiled the hell out of it on Twitter. It's like, come on.
I'm not sure why they do that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
very
know what the
strange.
reason for it is. I'm sure they have one, but yet you could easily make it 9. They used to air the Disney XD stuff like Rebels at 10 p.m. on a Thursday or
Yeah.
some weird shit like that. Like
Yeah.
you can
Well,
do that.
Even the Friends reunion, HBO was like,
get out of
I-
here.
no, this
You're
is
not
the
going to
thing.
let me watch it. Did you watch the
no,
Friends
I didn't
reunion
watch
without
it.
me?
I just know that
I feel like you watched it without me. Why?
Stop it.
How do you know about this?
because, okay, HBO.
When no one knows that life was gonna be this way. Go ahead.
I can't with you two.
It's
Listen.
great with the cameras, and I could flip the loop right when you knew the moment was coming.
Anyway, my point being that HBO was like, we're not going to air the Friends reunion until like 7 p.m.
Yeah.
At this time.
Smart.
Like theirs didn't even release at like midnight, you know, and it kind of like is better at building anticipation. I get that that's a different kind of anticipation for like a reunion show than it is for like an episode of The Bad Batch.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying. I just wish that they would change the timing of when these were released.
I love that we have the access. I love that I can watch it whenever I want. It's fantastic.
As many times as you want.
There's just something about it. I don't want to sound like some old geezer, but there's something about when it airs and you got to be ready to watch it. And you got to sit and wait through the commercials. And then it was hop right on and do a reaction or a review after. I don't know. It was kind of those were fun, different times. But the access that we have is unprecedented, and I can go watch it right now if I want. I can watch it 50 times.
So watch it
if I
100
want.
times.
Yeah, it's crazy, and we're not going back from that. But I just miss that anticipation. I miss those times. It was good. We'll get back to it.
Good time.
We'll get back to it. There's going to be Star Wars in cinema. It's going to be amazing. We're all going to go and see it probably 4 times. Spend way too much money. Because that I don't want to watch in my home. I just don't. When they make a Star Wars movie, I'm going to the theater.
I wonder.
Well, you spend all that money because you get the large corn.
Oh,
You got to get a large corn, large Coke, and you got to just go to town on
and you
it.
got to have them layer the butter.
Often we have the corn done almost before the previews are over.
I mean, you just gotta.
Usually it's Holly.
Okay, but I wonder how they're gonna do it because, like, okay, so Cruella just came out and
Yeah.
it came out on Disney Plus, but it also came out in theaters, so you could do either or. And I wonder if for the Star Wars stuff, if they're gonna do it like that, or if they're gonna do only theaters,
Yeah.
or
I feel like that model is going to fade the further we get away from
Yeah.
the peak of the pandemic.
Yep.
Like that was just the fallback for the pandemic, and now,
Yeah.
like you said, it used to be some of them just started coming out only in that mode because like none of the theaters were open,
Yeah.
and now we're getting this hybrid model where like, okay, we're going to release it on the streaming platform for a surcharge, or you can actually go to the theater and see it.
Yeah.
I think the biggest releases will eventually return to no. For the first however many months this thing is out, you got to go to a theater to see this thing. And
Yeah.
that's
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely.
I think maybe I'm wrong. I'm no industry insider or like great prognosticator of the film industry.
or is he?
So I could be totally wrong, and they could stick to this hybrid model like with Cruella forever going forward.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I feel like for the very biggest movies, your Marvels, Star Wars, whatever,
Yeah,
it's eventually going to be exclusively in the theaters for at least a certain amount of time.
I think that. I mean, I think that makes sense. I'm like you. I'm not like an expert on how much money these studios make and the theaters and stuff, but I just feel like I don't know. I kind of miss going to the movies.
I love the movies. And then you know what I love? That you used to hate it. And then you now love it.
Because I like the popcorn.
That's it. That's it. I'm here for the popcorn.
Guys,
Once the previews are done, the corn's gone. I'm out.
I'm really more
Thanks
of
for
like,
the $12 ticket.
I'm more of like a TV show person than a movie person, a film person. But
That's changing a little bit. You're getting the
yeah.
film.
Yeah, I'm getting into movies a lot more. The
Yeah.
other day I actually wanted to watch a movie instead of a TV show.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have 8 hours to dedicate to finishing it.
Yeah, because that's the problem. The streaming of a television show turns into 3 movies because you have that access and you just binge.
I know.
Anyway. Well, guys, that was a fun and interesting conversation. Who knew episode 5, Rampage, would cause such a stir, such a conversation? But it was fun. Enjoying the Bad Batch. Still on board with it. Looking forward to it each and every week. The other interesting thing is, guys, I think Loki's going to be starting soon on Disney Plus. So it's like, are they going to take a break from Bad Batch? And no,
I don't think so.
they're airing at the same time. Okay,
I think they're aimed at 2 different audiences. I think. Maybe not, but
you met the nerds on the internet.
I don't want to. Sorry, just kidding. Love the nerds on the internet.
Love them so much. But yeah, fun conversation. Hope you guys enjoyed it. So believe we'll have this episode coming to you soon, and then also an episode of last month's Casual Council that we didn't get to air yet. Life has been crazy and busy, but we are getting things back in order and on time. So enjoy that as well. Any final thoughts, Holly? Any knowledge for the listeners?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I know that was a boring answer.
No, that's a great answer. Luke, how about you? Any parting words for the listeners?
Beer can's empty, so's the brain.
So is the brain.
Time to go.
My brain is always empty, guys, as you know it. Luckily, I have these two wonderful folks here to help me out with the Star Wars discussion. But I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. Stay safe out there. Holly, they need to be reading Catalyst, right? We're going to be coming up. Or Catalyst.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Yeah. Jesus, there's just not enough space, like I said.
No, that was correct. Yes, Catalyst.
Catalyst. Almost thought we were talking about the wrong book there.
What if it is the wrong book?
Oh
I've been reading the wrong book the whole time. Yes, Catalyst, a Rogue One prequel.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. If you haven't read it, get on it, guys. You've got a few more weeks here now, but we'll be talking about that here next month. But yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Take care of each other. Be safe, and may the Force be with you always.